A millionaire overhears his cleaner praying, and what she asks changes his fate forever. Hi, I'm John Parker, and today's story will touch your heart. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give your like, it means so much to me, and leave in the comments which city or country you are listening from. The skyscraper stood like a monument against the Miami night, all steel and glass and untouchable power. From the 40th floor, the city looked like a circuit board lit in gold. And inside his corner office, Sterling Whitaker, 55, CEO of Whitaker Capital, typed with mechanical precision, ignoring the ache in his shoulders, ignoring the clock on the wall, ignoring the phone he still hadn't answered since last night's call from the hospital. He had learned to turn grief into numbers years ago. Numbers didn't talk back. Numbers didn't remind him that 5 years had passed since he last spoke to his father. Numbers didn't say the word he feared most, goodbye. But then it happened. A sound broke through the quiet, soft, trembling yet strangely steady. Sterling froze. It was a woman's voice, just beyond the half-open door to his private office. Dear God, please save Mr. Whitaker's father. I saw the look in his eyes yesterday. Under the suit, he's just a son who's scared. If there must be an exchange, and take my days instead of his. The words landed like a physical blow. Sterling's throat tightened. That voice, he knew it faintly. Maya Gerard, the cleaner. 28, hair pulled back, uniform always spotless. The kind of woman who passed through boardrooms like a shadow. Quiet, efficient, invisible. He moved closer, careful not to make a sound. Through the narrow opening he saw her, on her knees, hands clasped, her face lifted toward the ceiling as if this office were a cathedral. She wasn't praying for herself. She was praying for him. No, praying for his father. Sterling's mind went back to yesterday's call. Your father is in critical condition. It might not be long. He had stood at the edge of that sterile bed, watching the man who had raised him fight for air under the hiss of hospital machines. And he had felt something sharp and small in his chest, the feeling of being 15 again, wishing someone would tell him how to fix things. Now, this maid, this stranger, was offering her own life as if heaven still bartered in miracles. Give them time to reconcile. Lord, Maya whispered, her voice steady now. Let him have the chance to say what he never said. And if you need someone to carry this burden, let it be me. Sterling stumbled back from the door, heart hammering. Who does that? Who offers their own life for a man who never even learned her last name? The phone rang, slicing through the moment. Sterling grabbed it like a lifeline. This is Whitaker. Mr. Whitaker, this is Dr. Laura Hastings from Baptist Hospital. Your father's heart stabilized. He woke up and he's asking for you. For a moment, Sterling couldn't breathe. His father was awake, asking for him. He looked back toward the door. Maya was standing now, startled, clutching the cleaning cloth to her chest, her cheeks flushed, like she'd been caught stealing something sacred. I'm sorry, Mr. Whitaker, she stammered. I didn't mean to. This room just felt so heavy. I thought maybe you prayed for my father. His voice was low, almost accusing. She nodded. Yes, sir. Sometimes prayer is the only thing that keeps the night from swallowing you. Something cracked inside him. The man who hadn't cried since his wife's funeral felt a sting behind his eyes. Thank you, he said at last. 2 words that tasted foreign. Go to him, Maya said softly. Don't waste the time you've been given. Minutes later, Sterling stepped into the elevator. The mirrored walls showed him a man in a perfect suit, with imperfect eyes that suddenly looked human. The lobby waited below, but so did something else. His intercom buzzed again. Evelyn, the facilities supervisor, her voice tight. Mr. Whitaker, Gavin Mercer just called. He says it's urgent. There are movements in finance that need your immediate approval. Sterling hesitated, thumb hovering over the button. If Gavin was moving pieces, it meant money, big money. But for the first time in years, Sterling turned his back on the numbers. Tell Mercer to wait, he said, stepping out into the night. He had a father to see. What Sterling didn't know was that by the time he returned from the hospital, Gavin Mercer would have set something in motion that could burn down everything Sterling had built. and dragged Maya straight into the fire. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and coffee left too long on a burner. Sterling walked fast, his Italian shoes clicking against the tile like a metronome for his pulse. Nurses glanced up as he passed. Everyone knew the name Whitaker. But tonight, he wasn't the billionaire CEO. He was just a son who hadn't spoken to his father in 5 years. He stopped at the door to ICU room 14. Through the glass, he saw George Whitaker Sr., 70, strong jaw now lined with days of stubble, breathing with effort but alive. The beeping of the monitor was steady, too steady to ignore, too steady to forget. When Sterling stepped inside, the air felt heavy. For a moment, he stayed by the wall, the boy inside him too afraid to move closer. George turned his head. His voice was cracked but clear. "You came?" Sterling swallowed hard. "Of course I came." 5 years, son," George said, closing his eyes as if to gather strength. 5 years of silence. The words cut deeper than any headline, any market crash. Sterling moved to the bedside, the leather of his jacket creaking like a confession. "I was angry," Sterling admitted. "Angry at you, at the way you pushed me, the way you made everything about business. I thought you cared more about the company than about me." George's hand twitched, reaching for him. "I was hard on you because I didn't want the world to crush you. But maybe I became the one who crushed you first." Sterling took the hand, calloused, work-worn even after years of retirement. "I built everything you asked me to build, Dad. I made the company bigger than you ever dreamed. And yet," his voice broke, "it feels like I lost everything that mattered along the way." George squeezed his son's hand. "Then stop losing. Stop letting pride win. Life's too short to wait another 5 years." Sterling sat there until dawn, father and son talking about the past, about the wife and mother they had both loved and lost, about baseball games they missed, about birthdays spent apart because there was always another deal, another meeting, another empire to grow. Somewhere between midnight and sunrise, something thawed inside Sterling, the part of him that had frozen the night they'd last fought. When he finally left the hospital, the sky was pale gold, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel like running back to work. He wanted to breathe, but work never waited. By the time Sterling's car pulled into the Whitaker Capital garage, his phone was already buzzing. "Gavin Mercer, CFO, didn't waste time with pleasantries." "Sterling, where have you been? We have a liquidity window to close before market bell. I need your signature on the transfer, now." Sterling's jaw tightened. "Not until I review it." "You don't have time to review it," Gavin snapped. "This is a 1-hour window. Do you want us to lose millions?" "Send me the files," Sterling said coolly. "If they're clean, I'll sign." There was a pause. "Fine," Gavin said, his tone sharp enough to cut. Sterling hung up, but something about Gavin's urgency felt off. Gavin had always been aggressive, but this sounded like more than money. It sounded like someone covering tracks. When Sterling stepped out of the elevator into the 40th floor lobby, Evelyn Torres was waiting, arms crossed. "Mr. Whitaker, I don't like to gossip, but I thought you should know. Mr. Mercer was in your office late last night. He told security you approved it, but you didn't, did you?" "No," Sterling said slowly. "He was pulling files from your private cabinet." Sterling felt the blood drain from his face. His father was alive, yes, but something else was about to flatline. He pushed open the door to his office. Maya was there, quiet as always, polishing the edge of his desk. She looked up, startled by his expression. "Mr. Whitaker, is everything all right?" Sterling looked at her, at the woman whose prayer might have changed his father's fate, and something in him knew this was only the beginning. "No," he said softly. "Everything's about to change. Sterling has reconciled with his father, but now there are secrets in his own company that could destroy everything. And when Gavin Mercer makes his next move, Maya will be dragged into a storm she never asked for." Sterling hadn't even removed his jacket when Gavin Mercer walked in without knocking, as if the office already belonged to him. His tie was slightly loosened, his face lined with irritation. "You didn't sign," Gavin said flatly. "I told you I'd review it first." Sterling gestured toward the chair. "But Gavin didn't sit. You're letting sentimentality slow you down, Gavin pressed. This transfer is crucial. The market will still be there after lunch, Sterling cut in. Sit down, Mercer. Let's talk about what you were doing here last night. For the first time, Gavin blinked. What? Security logs show you accessed my private files. Sterling's tone was calm, but his eyes were cold steel. What exactly were you looking for? Gavin's jaw flexed. I was protecting the company. You've been distracted lately. Hospital visits, missed calls. Someone has to keep this place running by rifling through my cabinet. Sterling's voice dropped. You crossed a line. Gavin leaned forward, voice low. Careful, Sterling. The board is watching. They're starting to wonder if you're still the man to lead them. Sterling felt the old fire rise in him, the one that built Whitaker Capital from a family business into a multinational empire. If the board has questions, they can ask me to my face. Until then, stay out of my office. Gavin smiled thinly, the kind of smile that held no warmth. As you wish. He left without another word, but Sterling knew the conversation wasn't over. Maya stood silently in the corner, pretending to organize the shelf of awards, but Sterling could see her hands shaking. Did you hear all of that? He asked gently. She hesitated. I didn't mean to. But yes, he doesn't like you very much, does he? Sterling almost smiled. Mercer likes power, and right now he thinks it's his turn to have it. Maya nodded, then lowered her voice. Be careful, Mr. Whitaker. People who want power, sometimes they hurt whoever gets in the way. Her words hung in the air longer than he expected. That afternoon, Sterling tried to bury himself in work, but a thought kept intruding. Why was Gavin so desperate for that transfer to go through? When the file finally arrived in his inbox, Sterling read every line. His stomach turned. Hidden in the fine print was a payment, a large one, to an offshore account tied to a shell corporation. It was the kind of transfer that would look like money laundering if anyone investigated. And if Sterling signed it, his name would be the one on the authorization line. He buzzed Evelyn. Find me everything we have on this shell company, quietly, of course, Mr. Whitaker. He barely had time to take a breath before his office phone rang again. The call was from the reception desk. Mr. Whitaker, there's a man here to see you. Says it's about one of your employees. Which employee? The cleaner, the receptionist said hesitantly. Maya Gerard, Sterling frowned. Send him up. Minutes later, a tall man in a cheap suit appeared at his door. He smelled faintly of cigarette smoke, his face ruddy from the sun. You're Mr. Whitaker? He asked. Yes, and you are? Name's Roland. I work security for some of your properties. The man shifted uncomfortably. Look, I don't want trouble, but I thought you should know. There's someone asking questions about that girl Maya. A guy in a grey Mercedes has been following her home after shifts. Took pictures yesterday. Said he worked for finance. Sterling felt a slow, cold anger rise in him. Finance meant Gavin. Thank you, Roland, Sterling said, slipping the man a card. If you see him again, call me directly, day or night. When Roland left, Sterling turned to Maya, who had frozen mid-step near the door. Is it true? She asked softly. Is what true? That someone's following me? Sterling's jaw tightened. It's being handled, but I need you to be careful. Don't walk home alone tonight, Maya swallowed hard. I can't lose this job, Mr. Whitaker. You're not going to lose your job, he said firmly. Not while I'm here. For a moment, her eyes met his, and Sterling saw fear there, but also something else. Trust. That night, Sterling stayed late in the office, combing through months of transfers. The deeper he dug, the clearer it became. Gavin had been moving money in small, quiet increments for months. The transaction he wanted Sterling to sign was just the largest, the one that could bring everything crashing down if discovered. His phone buzzed. A message from Evelyn Mercer just left the building. He wasn't happy. Watch your back. Sterling stared at the screen, a knot forming in his chest. Gavin wasn't just ambitious, he was dangerous, and now Maya was in his line of sight. Sterling is beginning to uncover Mercer's scheme, but the CFO has already made his next move. The next morning, Maya will find herself at the center of a rumor that could destroy her job and Sterling's reputation. Morning sunlight poured through the 40th floor windows, but the building felt colder than usual. Sterling arrived earlier than normal, determined to confront Gavin with the evidence he'd found the night before. He didn't make it past the reception. Evelyn was waiting, pale and tight-lipped. "Mr. Whitaker, you need to see this." She handed him a printed memo that had been circulated to department heads at dawn. Subject: unauthorized use of company assets. Sterling scanned the lines, his blood running cold. "It has come to our attention that irregular financial activity may involve personnel outside the finance division. One employee under investigation is a cleaning staff member with unauthorized access to executive offices. Appropriate disciplinary action is pending." Maya Sterling clenched the paper. "Who signed this?" "Gavin Mercer," Evelyn said quietly. "He sent it to the entire board." By the time Sterling reached his office, Maya was already there, standing stiff, face pale, hands gripping the handle of her cleaning cart like a lifeline. "They called me downstairs," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "They said I might be suspended. I don't even know what I did wrong." Sterling crumpled the memo in his fist. "You didn't do anything wrong. This is a setup." Her eyes widened. "Why would someone do this to me?" "Because they think you're the easiest way to get to me." Tears welled in her eyes. "Please, Mr. Whitaker, I can't lose this job. My son's medication." Sterling stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You won't lose it. I promise you, Maya, no one is firing you on my watch." For a moment, she just stared at him, as if weighing whether she could trust a promise from a man whose world was so far from hers. Then she nodded, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. 30 minutes later, Sterling stormed into the boardroom where Gavin was waiting with 2 other executives. "You crossed a line," Sterling said, slamming the memo on the polished table. Gavin didn't flinch. "If you're protecting that woman, you're compromising this company." "That woman," Sterling said, voice icy, "has been nothing but loyal. She's not part of your scheme, Mercer." "Scheme?" Gavin leaned back in his chair, feigning innocence. "Careful, Sterling. Accusations like that can be expensive. I have the transfer files. The shell companies, the offshore accounts. The only person laundering money here is you." The executives shifted uncomfortably. Gavin's smirk faltered, but only for a second. "Then prove it." "I will." Sterling turned to the others. "In the meantime, the disciplinary action against Maya Girard is rescinded. Effective immediately." "You don't have the authority," Gavin started. "I own the authority," Sterling shot back. "You forget whose name is on this building." Gavin's eyes darkened. "You're making a mistake." Sterling leaned across the table. "No, Mercer. The mistake was thinking you could use an innocent woman to cover your crimes." The room went silent. Gavin gathered his papers slowly, his jaw tight. This isn't over. Back in his office, Sterling found Maya waiting. She looked nervous, as if bracing for bad news. "You're safe," Sterling said simply. "The suspension is gone. You're clear." Relief washed over her face, but only for a moment. "Mr. Whitaker, if they're willing to lie about me, they might do worse." "What if they tried to hurt my son?" Sterling's chest tightened. He hadn't told her about Roland's warning from the night before, the man in the grey Mercedes following her. "Then they'll have to go through me first," he said, his voice firm. For the first time, Maya allowed herself a small, grateful smile. But that night, as Sterling sat in his office reviewing more files, he saw something that made his stomach turn. The offshore transfers traced back not just to shell companies, but to payments authorized under his own name. Transactions from months when he'd been traveling abroad. Someone was forging his signature. And if the auditors saw this, it wouldn't just ruin Maya, it would destroy him. Sterling now knows Gavin is framing him personally and using forged documents to make it look real. The next morning, police investigators will arrive at Whitaker Capital, and Sterling will have to decide whether to reveal everything or risk losing the empire his father just told him to protect. The next morning broke heavy and grey, the kind of Miami day where even the ocean seemed to hold its breath. Sterling was already in his office when Evelyn's voice came through the intercom, tight with unease. "Mr. Whitaker, there are 2 men from the judicial police here to see you." Sterling's pen stilled over the transfer files. "Send them in." The door opened to reveal two plainclothes officers, badges clipped to their belts, expressions grave. "Mr. Whitaker," the taller one said, "we have a court order to review your financial records and your personal office. There's been a complaint filed regarding misappropriation of company funds." Sterling leaned back in his chair. "Who filed it?" The officer's gaze was neutral. "That information is sealed, but we'll need access immediately." Behind them, Evelyn appeared in the doorway, pale. "They also want to question staff members who might have witnessed anything unusual, including Miss Gerard." Sterling's pulse spiked. "Maya? She's downstairs." He stood abruptly. "Then I'll be there too." Maya was waiting in a small conference room, sitting on the edge of her chair, hands clasped tightly in her lap. When Sterling entered, she looked up, fear flashing in her brown eyes. "They asked me if I've ever seen you take money from the safe," she said, her voice breaking. "If I've ever delivered envelopes for you. Mr. Whitaker, they think we're in this together." Sterling crouched so he was eye level with her. "Listen to me, Maya, you've done nothing wrong. Tell them the truth. That's all you have to do. But if I tell them everything, if I tell them I saw Mr. Mercer in your office at night, then you tell them exactly that." She swallowed hard. "And if they don't believe me?" "Then they'll have to face me," Sterling said. His voice was steady, but inside dread coiled tight. The questioning lasted nearly an hour. Maya told them everything, how she had seen Mercer taking files late at night, how she had overheard him making calls about moving assets. At first, the officers just nodded, impassive. But when Sterling handed them a flash drive with copies of the suspicious transfers and the forged authorizations, one of them exchanged a glance with the other. "This is serious evidence," the taller one said finally. "If this checks out, Mr. Whitaker, you might have just saved your company from a federal audit, or put a target on my back," Sterling muttered. By afternoon, the building was buzzing. Rumors spread fast. The CEO under investigation, police in the lobby, board members whispering behind glass doors. Sterling could feel the eyes following him as he walked back to his office. Maya was there, waiting, clutching her cleaning cloth like a shield. "Did they believe you?" "Oh," she asked. "I don't know yet," Sterling admitted. "But you were brave. You could have stayed quiet, kept your head down. Instead, you spoke up." Her shoulders lifted in a small shrug. "I couldn't let them lie about you. You saved my job, Mr. Whitaker, and my son's medicine. It was my turn to protect you." The words hit Sterling harder than he expected. No one had protected him in a very long time. That night, Sterling drove home but didn't go inside. Instead, he sat in the car in the driveway, thinking about the conversation with his father just 24 hours earlier. Stop letting pride win. Maybe it was time to stop being alone in this fight. The next morning, his phone buzzed before sunrise. It was Evelyn. "Mr. Whitaker, you'd better come in. There's press outside the building. Someone leaked the investigation to the media." Sterling's grip on the phone tightened. "Let me guess, Mercer?" "I can't say for sure, but he's already here." And he looks pleased. By the time Sterling reached the 40th floor, cameras were flashing outside, journalists shouting questions. Inside the boardroom, Gavin was leaning casually against the table, smiling like a man who had already won. "This company can't afford a scandal, Sterling," Gavin said. "Step down quietly and I'll make sure the story goes away." Sterling's jaw clenched. "I'm not stepping down. Not while you're the one lighting the fire." "Then watch it burn," Gavin said, his smile turning cruel. "And take your little maid down with you. Gavin has escalated the war, and now the press is involved. Sterling must decide whether to fight back publicly or risk losing everything." Meanwhile, Maya overhears part of the conversation and realizes she might have to sacrifice something bigger than her job to protect the man who just defended her. By noon, the 40th floor felt less like an office and more like a war zone. Reporters crowded the lobby. Cameras pressed against the glass doors, shouting questions about embezzlement, fraud. Secret lovers. Sterling watched from his window, jaw tight, while Evelyn updated him. "They're saying you used company money to pay off someone's personal debts." "Whose debts?" Sterling asked, though he already knew the answer. Evelyn hesitated. "They're saying—" Sterling turned slowly. "Who leaked that?" "Who do you think?" Evelyn said grimly. Downstairs, Maya was experiencing her own hell. She had just stepped out of the staff locker room when 2 junior employees passed by, whispering loud enough for her to hear. "That's her," one said. "The maid who's sleeping with the boss." Maya froze. "That's not true," she said quietly. The other employee smirked. "Then why is your name all over the company memo? Why is the CEO risking everything for you?" Maya's chest ached, but she kept walking, head down, until she reached the janitorial closet. Inside, she gripped the edge of the sink and let out a shaky breath. She had spent 2 years working quietly, invisible, building a fragile stability for her son, and in 1 week, it was all gone. Sterling found her there half an hour later. "Why didn't you tell me you were being harassed?" he asked softly. "I didn't want to make it worse," Maya admitted, her voice small. "They already think I'm the reason you're in trouble." "You're not the reason," Sterling said firmly. "Mercer is. And I'm done letting him write this story." He straightened. "I'm calling a press conference." Maya's eyes widened. "You can't. The board can fire me later," Sterling said. "Right now, the truth needs oxygen." 2 hours later, the media packed into the building's atrium. Cameras clicked, microphones crowded the podium. Sterling stepped up to the microphone, no tie, sleeves rolled to the elbows, a man stripped of pretense. "There's been a lot said in the last 48 hours, he began, his voice calm but carrying across the room. "About me, about my company, about someone who works here and deserves none of this." He paused, letting the silence grow heavy. "Maya Gerard is not under investigation. She has done nothing wrong. She is an honest employee, a single mother who has kept this building running with more dignity than some executives I could name. If anyone here has a problem with her, their problem is with me." Maya stood near the back, hidden from most cameras, tears filling her eyes as Sterling continued. "As for the allegations about company funds, yes, there were irregular transfers. And yes, they were signed under my name. But I can prove they were forged. The real culprit is someone inside this company who's been moving money for months. And I will not rest until he's held accountable." Reporters shouted questions, flashes went off. Sterling raised a hand. "You want a headline? Here's one. This company will not sacrifice an innocent woman to cover the crimes of a guilty man." When the press conference ended, the room buzzed with shock. Some employees clapped quietly. Others looked away, afraid of being seen supporting him. Back upstairs, Gavin was waiting in Sterling's office, face dark. "You just declared war," Gavin said. "No," Sterling said, pouring himself a glass of water with steady hands. "I just told the truth. Now it's your move." Gavin's jaw clenched. "You won't survive this. The board will force you out by Monday. Then I'll spend the weekend making sure they know who's really been stealing from them." Gavin's smirk returned. "You really think a maid's testimony will save you?" Sterling didn't flinch. "I think it's going to destroy you." That night, Maya didn't go home. She stayed late, cleaning the offices like she always did, but Sterling noticed her movements were slower, heavier. "You should rest," he said gently. Maya shook her head. "If I go home, they'll be waiting. The reporters. The neighbors asking questions." She hesitated, then added, "And my son." He's scared. He heard what the kids at school were saying. He thinks I did something bad. Sterling's heart twisted. "Bring him here tomorrow," he said, impulsivement. "Let him see where you work. Let him see you have nothing to be ashamed of." Maya looked at him for a long moment, as if measuring whether she could let this man into her world any further. Finally, she nodded. Tomorrow, Maya will bring her son to the 40th floor, but Gavin has already set a trap. And the next move he makes will put not just Sterling's reputation at risk, but Maya's child in the middle of the war. Saturday morning, the Whitaker Capitol building was unusually quiet. No reporters, no board members, no employees except a skeleton crew. For once, the marble lobby echoed with nothing but the sound of small footsteps. Maya's son, Lucas, clutched her hand tightly as they stepped off the elevator onto the 40th floor. He was 5, with a mop of dark hair and a shy, curious stare that reminded Sterling of a boy he used to be a long time ago. "This is where you work, Mama," Lucas whispered. "Yes, mi amor." "And this is Mr. Whitaker," Maya said softly, almost hesitant. Sterling crouched down, so he was eye level with the boy. "Hey, Lucas, I've heard a lot about you." Lucas studied him, then gave a small nod. "Mom says you saved my medicine." Sterling's chest tightened. "I just made sure you got what you needed." "Your mum did all the hard work." For the first time since the storm began, Maya smiled. It was small, but it was real. For a few precious hours, the office felt like a sanctuary. Lucas played quietly with his toy cars in the corner, while Maya polished shelves, and Sterling reviewed documents at his desk. The normalcy was almost enough to make Sterling believe they could get through this, until Gavin Mercer walked in. He didn't knock. He never did. This time, though, there was something darker in his eyes, the look of a man who had decided to stop playing subtle games. "Well, well," Gavin said, spotting Lucas. "Family day at Whitaker Capital?" Maya stiffened, instinctively stepping in front of her son. "Mr. Mercer, please," Gavin smirked. "Relax, Maya, I'm not here to hurt your boy. I just think it's enlightening. The press is going to love this." Sterling rose slowly from behind his desk. "What are you talking about?" Gavin held up his phone. "I just sent an anonymous tip to 3 news outlets. By Monday morning, every paper in the city will be asking the same question. Is Sterling Whitaker funneling company money to support his secret family?" Maya gasped. "Secret family?" "You, Maya," Gavin said with a venomous smile. "And your son, the poor innocent cleaner, and her little boy, the perfect tabloid headline. All those transfers look a lot more interesting now, don't they?" Sterling's fists clenched. "You've crossed a line, Mercer." "No," Gavin said, stepping closer. "I just made sure you can't fire me before the board meeting." "Fire me now and you look like a man silencing a whistleblower. Let me stay and maybe I make the headlines go away." Lucas tugged at Maya's sleeve. "Mama, why is he saying that?" Maya knelt and gathered her son into her arms, her voice shaking. "He's lying, mi amor. You didn't do anything wrong." The boy buried his face in her shoulder, and Sterling felt something inside him snap. "You listen to me, Mercer," Sterling said, his voice low and dangerous. "You can smear my name all you want, but if you drag this child into it, what will you do?" Gavin challenged. "Go public? Take me to court? That will take months, maybe years. And by then, your reputation will be ashes." When Gavin finally left, the office felt heavier, as though his presence had left a residue on the air. Maya sat on the sofa holding Lucas tightly, her knuckles white. "I should quit," she said suddenly. Sterling turned sharply. "What? If I leave, he'll stop using us against you. He won't have a story anymore. Maybe then they'll leave you alone." "No," Sterling said firmly. "That's exactly what he wants. He wants to scare you away so he can finish what he started." Tears glistened in her eyes. "But what about Lucas? He's just a child. He doesn't deserve to be on the news." Sterling knelt in front of her. "Neither do you. And I won't let him do this to you, to either of you." For a long moment they just looked at each other, 2 very different worlds colliding under the same storm. That night, Sterling called his father. "Dad," he said, pacing the kitchen, "he's dragging her son into this." "A 5-year-old boy." There was a pause on the line, then George Whitaker's gravelly voice. "Then fight like you've never fought before. Don't just defend yourself, son. Defend them. If you walk away now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Sterling stared out the window at the Miami skyline, the city lights sharp as stars. "Then we go to war," he said quietly. "Monday morning is coming, and with it the headlines. Sterling must prepare his strongest move yet to expose Gavin, even if it means risking his company. And Maya will face a choice of her own: stay and fight, or run to protect her child." Monday morning hit like a tidal wave. The headlines were everywhere: TV, newspapers, social media feeds glowing with speculation. Millionaire CEO funding cleaner's secret family? Scandal at Whitaker Capital? Embezzlement or affair? Who is Maya Gerard? The woman behind the CEO's fall from grace. Sterling stood in the center of his office, phone buzzing relentlessly, reporters camped outside the building. His PR manager begged for a statement, but Sterling knew that words alone wouldn't clear this. They needed proof, and he intended to get it today. Downstairs, Maya sat on a bench near the loading dock, her hands trembling around a folded newspaper. Lucas was at her sister's house for the day, safe, but Maya's world was crumbling. They printed my son's name, she whispered to Evelyn, who had come to sit beside her. They showed our address. Kids at school are teasing him. He thinks he did something wrong. Evelyn's voice was gentle. This isn't your fault. I should leave, Maya said suddenly, standing. Pack up, take Lucas and go somewhere they can't find us. Maybe then Mr. Whitaker can rebuild his life without us dragging him down. Evelyn grabbed her hand. If you run now, Mercer wins. He wants you gone so he can finish destroying Sterling. Don't give him that victory, Maya hesitated. Torn between fear and something deeper, the memory of Sterling standing at that podium, defending her when no one else would. Upstairs, Sterling met with Cole Navarro, the private investigator he had hired. Tell me you have something, Sterling said. Cole smirked, dropping a flash drive on the desk. Better than something. We've been tracking Mercer's communications all weekend. He's meeting with a journalist tonight at the Palms Hotel to hand over more evidence. Sterling's jaw tightened. Perfect. We'll be there. Get the recording equipment ready. I want his voice on tape admitting the setup. You realize it's risky, Cole warned. If he sees you, he might not talk, Sterling nodded. Then we make him think I'm not there. That afternoon, Sterling found Maya packing up her cart, her face pale but determined. Going somewhere? He asked quietly. She froze. I can't stay, Mr. Whitaker. They won't stop until they destroy you. And I can't let my son be part of that. Sterling stepped closer, his voice low and urgent. Maya, look at me. Do you trust me? She swallowed hard. Yes, then stay. Just a little longer. Tonight we catch him. Tonight we end this. Her eyes searched his, looking for any sign that this was just another promise from a powerful man who could walk away tomorrow. But what she saw was resolve. Okay, she said finally. I'll stay. For tonight. Hours later, the Palms Hotel glowed with golden light against the Miami skyline. Cole and his team were already in position, hidden cameras set, microphones hot. Sterling watched from a parked car across the street as Gavin arrived, slick as ever in a tailored suit, carrying a leather briefcase. Minutes later, the journalist appeared, a man known for publishing scandals without caring whether they were true. Here we go, Cole murmured over the earpiece. Inside the hotel bar, Gavin leaned back in his chair, all smiles. This will bury him, he said, sliding a stack of forged documents across the table. And the best part? The maid will never work again. No one will hire a woman accused of fraud. Sterling gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Every word was being recorded, every smug detail. Then Gavin said something that made Sterling's blood run cold. I followed her kid last week. Took pictures of him walking home. You should see the look on Whitaker's face when he finds out. He's practically playing house with them. It's pathetic, Cole's voice crackled in Sterling's ear. That's enough. We've got him, but Sterling didn't move. He sat there for one more second, fury burning hot in his chest. This wasn't just about clearing his name anymore. This was about protecting Maya and Lucas, no matter the cost. Back at Whitaker Capital, Maya was waiting for him, pacing the office like a caged bird. Did you get it? She asked the moment he walked in. Sterling nodded, his expression unreadable. Yes, everything. Tomorrow morning the world will know exactly who Gavin Mercer really is. Maya exhaled, relief flooding her face, but Sterling wasn't smiling. This ends tomorrow, he said quietly. But it might get worse before it gets better. The trap is set, but Gavin is smart enough to know when he's being cornered. By sunrise, he'll make a desperate move to strike first. And what he does next will put Sterling, Maya, and Lucas in more danger than ever before. The sun had barely risen when Sterling's phone buzzed with a call from Cole. "He knows," Cole said without preamble. "Mercer made contact with one of his offshore partners at 3 a.m. He's panicking, my guess. He's about to run. Then we stop him," Sterling said, grabbing his jacket. "That's not all," Cole added grimly. "One of my guys just saw Mercer's car parked 2 blocks from Maya's apartment this morning." Sterling froze. What was he doing there? "We couldn't get close enough, but he wasn't alone. Looked like he had someone with him, a guy we haven't seen before. Big shaved head. Not the kind of company a CFO usually keeps." Sterling's blood turned to ice. "He's not just running. He's trying to send a message." By the time Sterling reached Maya's apartment, she was already outside with Lucas, visibly shaken. "Someone tried to break in," she said, voice trembling. "The lock was scratched. I called the police, but—" Her words faltered. "But they won't do much unless something's stolen," Sterling finished grimly. He crouched and looked Lucas in the eye. "Did you see anyone, buddy?" Lucas nodded solemnly. "A man was sitting in a car. He smiled at me, but it was a bad smile." Sterling's stomach twisted. This wasn't just intimidation anymore. This was personal. "You're coming with me," he said. "Both of you! You're not spending another night here." Back at Sterling's penthouse, Maya sat on the edge of the sofa, still pale. "This has gone too far," she whispered. "He's not going to stop. What if next time Lucas is outside alone?" Sterling knelt in front of her. "That's why I need you to trust me. Today we end this. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today." "How?" "I'm taking everything we have, the recordings, the documents, straight to the boardroom. And I want you there with me." Maya's eyes widened. "Me? Yes, they need to hear it from you too. How you saw him in my office. How he tried to make you the scapegoat." She hesitated, fear flashing across her face. "What if they don't believe me?" "Then they'll have to believe me," Sterling said, his voice steady. "But I need you by my side." After a long moment, Maya nodded. At noon, the boardroom was filled to capacity. Executives, attorneys, even a representative from the police financial crimes unit. Gavin arrived last, looking rumpled but defiant. "This better be good," he said, dropping into his chair. "I have places to be." "Sit down, Mercer," Sterling said coldly. "This is your last chance to explain yourself before the board sees what we found." Gavin's smirk widened. "You think a couple of recordings are going to save you? I still have enough dirt to bury you." "Not anymore." Sterling nodded to Cole, who queued up the recording. Gavin's own voice filled the room, describing how he forged documents, leaked false stories to the press, and followed Lucas. The board members exchanged shocked looks. Gavin's face turned white, then red. "This is entrapment," he shouted. "This is justice," Sterling said calmly. "You threatened a child, Gavin. That's not corporate politics. That's a crime." But Gavin wasn't done. In one last desperate move, he lunged across the table, grabbed Sterling by the lapel, and hissed, "You think you've won? This isn't over. I still have copies. If I go down, I take you with me." Before Sterling could respond, security pulled Gavin back. "Get him out of my building," Sterling ordered. As Gavin was dragged out, he turned his glare toward Maya. "You'll regret this, both of you." Lucas, who had been sitting quietly in the hallway with Evelyn, saw the commotion and ran into the room. "Mama!" Maya scooped him into her arms, heart pounding. Sterling watched them, something fierce and protective rising in his chest. When the room finally cleared, Sterling sank into a chair, exhausted but resolute. "It's not over yet," he murmured. "He still has copies somewhere." "Then we'll find them," Cole said, packing up his laptop. "But you did what you had to do. The board believes you now, and the police will take it from here." Sterling glanced at Maya, who was holding Lucas close. "No," he said quietly. "This isn't just about clearing my name anymore. It's about keeping them safe." That night, Sterling stood at the window of his penthouse, looking out over Miami. Maya came to stand beside him, Lucas asleep on the sofa behind them. "You don't have to keep us here," she said softly. "We can find another place." "You're staying," Sterling said simply. "Until he's behind bars. I'm not taking any chances." For a moment, Maya didn't reply. Then she nodded. "Thank you," she whispered. "Gavin may have been removed from the building, but he still has one last card to play, And when he uses it, Sterling will have to risk everything, including his company, to protect Maya and Lucas once and for all. It happened just after sunrise. Sterling's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? Check the morning news. Sterling turned on the TV, and there it was. Footage leaked to a major network. Doctored videos, forged documents, a carefully edited narrative making it look like Sterling had been secretly funneling millions to a woman he called his mistress. Maya appeared in the footage too, taken from security cameras. Clips of her walking through the executive floor at night, cleaning paired with voiceovers calling her the millionaire's hidden affair. Maya stood frozen in the doorway, Lucas clinging to her leg. They're saying I'm your... She couldn't finish the sentence. They're lying, Sterling said sharply. And this ends today. By mid-morning, Sterling had called a press conference, not in the building this time, but on the steps of the Miami courthouse, where the police had just filed charges against Gavin Mercer for fraud, forgery, and harassment. The press swarmed as Sterling stepped up to the microphones, Maya and Lucas standing behind him. Today, I'm here to tell the truth one last time, Sterling said, his voice carrying over the crowd. For weeks, someone has tried to destroy not just me, but an innocent woman and her child. They forged documents, spread lies, and even followed a little boy to his home. That ends now. He handed copies of the recordings to the state attorney's representative standing beside him. This is every confession, every threat, every document proving who Gavin Mercer really is. By tonight, he will be in custody. Flashes erupted as Sterling turned slightly toward Maya. And let me make something very clear, he said, his tone softer but firm. Maya Gerard is not my mistress. She is a hard-working single mother who was targeted because she was easy to blame. And as long as I have breath in my body, no one will harm her or her son again. Maya blinked back tears, holding Lucas tighter. That night, Gavin Mercer was arrested trying to cross the state line. The news cycle shifted instantly. CFO charged in massive embezzlement scheme. CEO cleared of all allegations. Hero or survivor. For the first time in weeks, Sterling's phone stopped buzzing. The storm had passed. A week later, Sterling stood in his office, but it felt different now. Lighter. The board had voted unanimously to keep him as CEO. His father had called to say he'd never been prouder. Maya entered quietly. No cleaning cart this time. She was dressed in a simple blue dress, hair down, nervous but smiling. I just came to say, thank you, she said softly, for defending me, for believing me when no one else did. Sterling stepped closer. You don't need to thank me. You saved me, Maya. You reminded me what actually matters. Lucas ran in, holding a drawing, the three of them, hand in hand. Look, I made us a family. Maya laughed softly, brushing away tears. Sterling crouched to look at the drawing. Then maybe it's time we make that official, he said quietly, looking up at her. Her breath caught. Sterling, he took her hand. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I don't want to face it without you. Both of you. Maya smiled through her tears. Then we'll face it together. That night, Sterling joined Maya and Lucas for dinner at her apartment. Not the boardroom, not the penthouse, just a small kitchen with the smell of arroz con pollo filling the air. For the first time in years, Sterling felt something he hadn't known he was missing. Home. As Lucas laughed and Maya set another plate on the table, Sterling realized that the scandal that almost destroyed him had given him the one thing money couldn't buy. A family. I'm John Parker, and remember, every story hides a truth. The truth of this story is simple. Money builds empires, but love builds legacies. Sterling found his redemption not in court, not in the headlines, but in the quiet moments, holding the hands of the two people who had seen him at his lowest and stayed anyway. So tell me, where are you listening to this story from tonight? Leave it in the comments, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that even in the darkest storm, there's always a chance for a new beginning.